district recommends that you just grab what is important. Don't scatter around for too many things, but make sure that you do have some medications, baby supplies, money, and important documents. Also, if you have pets, you're being told you need to keep them in a cage or on a leash. This is all happening in just the last hour, as a new fire is burning on a hillside on both sides of the Carquinez Bridge to the north and down in the south. So if you are in either Vallejo or Crockett, you're probably really smelling that smoke right now, because it is a massive plume that can be seen from really far away, as we've been seeing in these viewer videos that have been posted to Twitter. All right, back to you guys.
All right, Ella, thanks a lot for that. We want to give you an update, continue an update on our breaking news. That is the fire burning near the Carquinez Bridge, as Ella mentioned, on both sides of Carquinez Strait.
So those embers just flying over the Carquinez Bridge, and we are seeing on Twitter everyone talking about how the roads are so impacted just simply because so many people are trying to get out.
We want to talk to Steve Hill, the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Steve, are you there?
I am here.
Steve, what can you tell us about the firefight going on near the Carquinez Bridge?
Well, you've described exactly the evacuation area, which is the south half of the city of Crockett at this point. I can tell you that it's a fast-moving fire, and the headline probably is for all of these fires this morning is that these extremely high winds, some are saying historically high winds, are creating erratic fire behaviors. That's certainly the case here south of the city of Crockett. I know at this point that the fire has crossed Cummings Skyway and is burning to the south from there. We have a lot of resources on that fire. We're bringing more in by the minute to do our very best to get it stopped as early as possible. The evacuation order, of course, remains in Crockett, and the warning for the north half of Crockett remains in effect as well.
Steve, the Cummings Skyway is a relatively large highway there. Are you surprised that it crossed that highway?
Well, it's not surprising that it would get across the Cummings Skyway given these winds and given the fact that we believe it crossed the Carquinez Strait to get started in south of the city of Crockett.
Really an unnerving time for a lot of people. As far as, is there going to be an air attack? Are you able to tap into those resources?
Yes, in fact, that's being planned right now. I happen to be standing in the county EOC where our fire branch is coordinating that very thing. We've dispatched a number of strike teams to the fire as well. Those are pre-positioned resources that we thankfully have in place because of the fire weather. They've been instrumental in controlling a number of fires we've been having since 3 a.m. this morning. The weather conditions are likely going to see other fires get out of control as the day wears on.
Yeah, this is the worst nightmare for firefighters. We had hoped that it wouldn't be this bad, but it is turning out to be so. Steve, one of the big fears with this fire near the Carquinez Bridge, of course, is it's so heavily populated in that area. There are several subdivisions there.
There are quite a few residents. They're mostly, fortunately, to the north, and the winds are, in this case, helping us by driving that fire to the south. So we have a good bit of open area before we hit heavily populated areas again, and we're confident that we'll get it stopped before then. But at this point, that's up in the air as we get the resources on site scene and make a stand against that fire.
Now, Steve, we see the map of the evacuation area. The people that live on the outskirts, I'm guessing they should be prepared as well.
Yes, I would say that it's a good advice for just about anybody in the county today to be highly vigilant and prepared. If they haven't prepared their go kits, they should be doing it right this minute while we're speaking. And they should be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. This fire popped up. Literally, it popped up 50 minutes ago. Yeah. And we've already in the very early minutes issued an evacuation order. No warning. It's time to pack up and go.
Steve, it really shows the power of the wind because folks were sitting at home in the area near the Carquinez Bridge watching coverage of the fire some 60 miles away, and now they're part of that story as well.
Well, the fires, to your point, the fires have managed to bridge the county in the last 6 or 7 hours. They started early this morning, about 3 a.m. in East County. We've had a series of them out there, and now, unfortunately, we have a pretty sizable one in West County as well.
Yeah.
We're getting news into the newsroom that Crockett has now been under an evacuation order. Is that what you're hearing as well?
That's correct. You guys reported it correctly right before, just a moment ago. It is the area in Crockett, essentially the southern half of Crockett from Pomona Avenue south. The eastern boundary is Crockett Boulevard, and the western boundary is Interstate 80, and it extends down south to the city limits.
As far as the winds, and you were talking about the erratic behavior, have you seen, I know that you've been in the fire protection district for decades, is this a unique phenomenon?
These winds, I've heard the winds that we're experiencing today described by meteorologists as historic or near historic winds. We are definitely experiencing winds that are far beyond what we might normally expect this time of year, and this is a time of year when we do expect high winds from the north, but these gusts in the flatlands are fairly high, and of course across the ridge lines they're even higher.
Yeah, we have heard that as well, that this is a historic wind event, and it is proving to be so. Steve, thank you so much, and continue your good work in fighting this fire, and we wish you well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
That is Steve Hill from the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. They have their hands full. They have all morning long fighting fires in the eastern part of Contra Costa County, now in the western part of the county as well.
And Steve was mentioning how they're going to start bringing in some of the helicopters, probably some bulldozers, as well as making sure that they can do that air attack, because that is always one of the most successful ways of beating back the flames. Again, we were talking about that wind event, and we've been preparing for it, and now we're seeing it in person.
And our coverage will continue right after we take a short break.
Of the East Bay, taking a look at this picture. This is a neighborhood on the Vallejo side of where this fire is now burning. It's being called the Glen Cove Fire in Vallejo, and hopefully homes in that area are not threatened. But you can see just how close that smoke is, and people have poured into the middle of the street to take a look and soak it all in. But again, if you are vulnerable to this kind of smoke, you are urged to stay indoors if you do have a proper way of staying cool, because you also do not want to be facing any heat exhaustion, given once you close those windows, it could get all the hotter. So again, it takes precedent if you do not have air conditioning or proper ventilation in your home. But if you do, close those doors and try to stay inside so that you are not negatively impacted by this smoke. But if you are living in Crockett, more likely than not, you've been told to evacuate already. The Contra Costa County Fire Protection District says that there is an evacuation warning for the entire town of Crockett as we speak. So they're being told to grab only important things and get out now, because they do not want to wait until those flames possibly reach any populated areas, because as we've seen it so far, it's been on a hillside on the side of the freeway of 80. People are being told to turn around at the toll plaza because Carquinez Bridge is completely shut down, and that is not an option anymore. Some people have been stuck between two fires up here, because there's one in, up in the North Bay, the Kincaid fire that is still burning, and now this one. So there is a evacuation center that has been set up for the Crockett residents who are told to leave. That is at the Hercules Swim Center at 2001 Refugio Valley Road in Hercules. So if you live in Crockett and you're being told to leave, you have no place to go, head over to that swim center in Hercules. Again, grab any money, important documents, your pets, put them in a carrier, have them on a leash. But there are a couple of closures in this area as well that you need to keep in mind. Highway 80 is closed at eastbound Highway 4 and westbound 780. So people are being told to reroute over to 680, but that traffic is probably backed up since this all started in the last hour. The fire department is saying that they're not surprised that this fire jumped across the bridge. It's now burning to the north and south side, given the strong winds that we've been expecting all weekend long. And unfortunately, it's exactly what we're seeing here.
Good morning. We are back to our breaking news coverage of two fires that are burning near the Carquinez Bridge on both sides of the Carquinez Strait.
And the fire jumped Interstate 80 around an hour ago. So certainly not what anyone wanted to see when they woke up this morning thinking that the worst was over while everyone was focused on the Kincade fire.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this erupted.
It's come closer to home for a lot of folks in the Bay Area, especially those in the East Bay. We understand that the fires also jumped the Cummings Skyway in that area. People in the community of Crockett are being told to evacuate the area because of the smoke and fire danger. So that's the latest information that we have for you from that fire that is burning near the Carquinez Strait, near the Carquinez Bridge, just north of the bridge on the Vallejo side.
Let's get you caught up on traffic. There are a lot of closures in the area because of this fire that just broke out about 50 minutes ago. The winds being erratic, and so there are certain measures in place to make sure that everyone stays as safe as possible. Robin Winston joins us live right now. Robin?
Still have new details coming in. In fact, another closure now in place. We're getting this from CHP Santa Rosa. They've closed Highway 101 in the Windsor-Hillsburg area because of poor visibility. There's so much smoke out there, it's really hard to see. On the northbound side, they're saying that they've shut it down at Airport Boulevard. On the southbound side, they closed it off at Dry Creek, and they're asking folks to stay away from the area. If you joined us earlier this morning, we told you about the closures that we had in place in portions of Santa Rosa and Hillsburg. Those were lifted, and this is a second set of new closures that are in place because of the smoke that continues to spread. And they were also tracking the closure of 80. 80 is a major artery for the Bay Area. People getting into and out of town on the weekends, heading up to Reno and Tahoe and Fairfield and Vacaville. It remains closed. It started with the fire north of the Carquinez in Vallejo. And then another one popped up on the Crockett side. So two separate closures, two separate fires that are burning. 80 is shut down on the eastbound side at Highway 4 and Hercules. Take 4 to 680. 80 west is closed at 780. On the Vallejo side, you can take 780 to 680. But now we have major delays with all the folks using it. So it's gridlocked from Benicia over to Martinez. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay with us.
We're looking at dramatic pictures that people are posting, all of this new fire that has erupted in both Crockett and in Vallejo as that fire has then spread. So the winds, fortunately, are moving south away from what looks to be homes up in Vallejo, which is where this fire is burning very close to. So hopefully it doesn't reach any of those structures and instead just keeps moving southbound. But it looks like it's already jumped the bridge. 80 is completely shut down, and you can see the flames right here on your screen, so close to, again, the hillside that is now burning. And there are evacuations in place for the entire town of Crockett. That is a warning, and people south of Crockett in that area by Pomona Street are told that they have to leave right now if they already haven't. There is an evacuation center that has been set up in Hercules. That's at the swim center. So if you have nowhere safe to go, that is the place to be. You are being told to grab whatever you can, including medications, important documents, and some money. And if you do have pets, keep them on a leash or in a carrier. Again, we are learning more information as this develops. It's been just 1 hour since this all has happened, and now firefighters are having to split their resources between, of course, the Kincade fire that has burned more than 25,000 acres in just the last few days. And now this, it's something that we've been warning you guys all about all weekend long, given this really strong wind. And that was a major concern, that another fire spark up and then spread quickly. We are learning that this is a fast moving fire, according to Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. And they say that an immediate evacuation has been ordered for the area south of Pomona Street in Crockett. Let's take a look at some more images that people have been posting. They said that they woke up to what was a really calm morning. They thought that it was all over, and now this is what they're seeing. This is a view of the Carquinez from somebody's home out, I believe, in Vallejo near Maple and Benicia Roads. So this is just a really scary situation that is developing for people out there as they're wondering, is this going to reach my home? I saw people were posting, is Richmond being evacuated at all? So they're just waiting if it's going to be their turn. But again, that evacuation warning has for now just been in effect for the town of Crockett, and hopefully the wind does not push it any closer to structures.
Good Good morning. Back to the breaking news of 2 fires now burning in the East Bay near the Carquinez Bridge.
No, that fire broke out about 50 minutes ago. We're going to go over to Ella Sogomoni in the Chron On news desk to get a little bit more information about that. Ella, how's it going?
Yeah, this is a really fast and developing situation. Unfortunately, it is a worst case scenario of what we've been reporting on all weekend long, that Sunday would experience the strongest wind speeds. And you can see in this video just how quickly those flames and that smoke is being pushed into the direction of people out on the roadways. Hopefully they are staying safe, because it looks like visibility is already being heavily impacted. And it looks like cars are very close to those flames that are burning what looks to be just by I-80. And so the Carquinez Bridge, as we've been talking about, has been shut down for the last hour and a half at this point, because the flames ended up jumping from the north side to the south side. And now areas of both Vallejo and Crockett are impacted. This is a picture, as you can see, this massive plume of smoke behind a hillside of what looks to be a lot of homes up there. So we've been learning that the smoke in the meantime is being pushed south because of the winds, the northeasterly winds. So hopefully it doesn't push it any closer to homes. But this is what people are saying. Is this going? What is happening? Is this for real? This is the view from south of Vallejo, and it is a really scary situation for people. There is an evacuation for the entire town of Crockett. People are being told to head over to the Hercules Swim Center at 2001 Refugio Valley Road in Hercules if you have nowhere safe to go. The Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, we heard from Steve Hill. He said that he's not surprised that the flames ended up jumping from one side to another despite that massive distance, because of how strong that wind is. This is exactly what we've been talking about all weekend long. So a lot of cars are having to reroute now off of 80, avoid it altogether. And there are aircrafts that have now been brought into this firefight as well. So you can see that resources are now unfortunately having to be split between the Kincaid fire that is burning across Sonoma County and now here in both Vallejo and Crockett. So again, aircraft has now been brought in to this firefight, and they're going to be dropping retardant from up above. But we've seen that homes or cars below, if they happen to be close, can get that pink stain on them. So hopefully people are getting away from this area and are able to clear it out in a safe manner, because again, I-80 is shut down in that Carquinez Bridge area, as well as at eastbound 80 and westbound 780. So avoid it altogether. And unfortunately, we're hearing that possibly drivers could be stuck between these fires because of all the road closures. So hopefully everybody is staying safe out there. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Ellis, thank you so much. It is just a horrific situation in that pocket of the East Bay right now, because you have 2 fires burning on either side of the Carquinez Strait, and then the wind just whipping it all up.
Well, as Steve Hill was saying, that we heard about that it was going to be historic winds, and that's exactly what they're saying with this rapid spread of growth.
90-mile-an-hour gusts in some spots. Yeah.
Exactly. Robin Winston is with us right now, so we've got a lot of road closures. Robin, what's the latest?
The latest is from the CHP from Santa Rosa. They've closed down Highway 101. Once again, we had it shut down early this morning. The closures and the SIG alerts were lifted, but they were put back in place because there's so much smoke in the air. That has led to reduced visibility for people traveling into and out of Hillsburg and Windsor. So they're now saying that 101 is closed once again in both directions. They have it northbound at Airport Boulevard. Southbound, they decided to go ahead and shut it down at Dry Creek. So you will not be able to travel between those 2 points pretty much until further notice. They're not even telling us when they're going to lift those closures. And then for days now, we've been dealing with the closure of 128. That's the area that you see highlighted in purple here. It's closed between Alexander Valley and Geyserville. Now back to the fire that we have burning north of the Carquinez. We have a closure that remains in place for people who live and travel into and out of Vallejo right now. 80 west completely shut down at 780. That's as far as you can go. You will be forced over to 780, and that's what the traffic is doing. They're taking 780 to 680, and that's why 680 is backing up. The opposite end, a little fire popped up on the Crockett side that is impacting 80 as well. So they decide to close it way back in Hercules. That's as far as you can go if you take 80 East. 80 East is closed at Highway 4. I drew some arrows for your alternate route. You can take 4 over to 680, or you can take 780 over to 680. But now let's look at the traffic. You see all of that traffic coming out of Benicia from 780, merging onto South 680. We're tracking major delays now as people try and work their way over to Martinez. It's backed up well beyond that 780 split. For people using Highway 4 as an alternate, now we have a lot of heavy traffic on 4 East approaching 680 as folks try and work their way around the closure. Something that I looked over earlier, but I want to tell you about a closure that's in place along the peninsula. If you want to take 101 to get from the peninsula to San Francisco, there was another fire that popped up near Candlestick. At one point, we had all lanes shut down on 101 right before Candlestick. That is no longer the case, but they still have the far right lane shut down. This fire looks like it's under control. There's only one lane blocked off, and a special traffic alert remains in place. So you are backed up coming out of Brisbane, heading north to San Francisco, and it's causing some southbound delays as well. So another instance where another fire has popped up and it's impacting traffic at our major Bay Area freeways. Back to you.
Oh, what a mess, Robin.
The traffic has been horrible, and we were out and about yesterday just trying to pick up a last-minute supply and get some ice because we were preparing for a PSPS up in the North Bay, my family and myself, and I noticed that people were going around on the shoulder, everyone having this sense of panic, and it was like, oof. I pulled over a couple times to allow people to go around just because I'm like,
that was smart.
Yes.
Let them get to where they need to be and not hit me.
Not get into a confrontation. We'll be right back after this break.
So I want to show you guys where exactly this evacuation is happening. This was a map of the immediate evacuation warning that is in effect for the area of Crockett because of this fire that is now burning on both the south side of the Carquinez Bridge and the north side. So this is a really dynamic firefight given that the bridge is completely closed off. We're talking about Carquinez, of course, and I want to show you a little bit more of what people are seeing out there out of, I believe, Vallejo. But take a look at this picture. So this is the Carquinez Bridge, and you can see that massive plume of smoke that is still black and gray. There's an immediate evacuation warning now. This is courtesy of Sean M. off of Twitter, and you can see this huge smoke that is engulfing this hillside of I believe the Vallejo area, and all those homes just right below it. So we are keeping a really close eye on the weather, of course, because this is what is exacerbating the situation. It is making things all the worse because with the strong wind speeds that have been sustained for more than 20 miles per hour, those flames can move all the faster. And that's exactly what Contra Costa County Fire Protection District is saying about this new fire. It is moving very fast, so that's why there is an immediate evacuation ordered for the area south of Pomona Street in Crockett. Residents south of Pomona Street, west of Crockett Boulevard, and east of Highway 80 are told to leave right now. Carry only what you can and only the essentials because your life is more important. So they're saying that if you don't have anywhere to go, head over to Hercules. The Hercules Swim Center has been opened as an evacuation center for people out of Crockett who need a place to go. And there, again, are so many pictures that are now being posted on Twitter by people who are in this area. Chris Lum right here has, wow, look at this picture of the Carquinez Bridge out of the Vallejo side. It looks like that smoke has completely consumed one side of that bridge, and we don't know if the flames have reached it at this time, but in the last hour, we have learned that the flames have been on both the north and the south side.
DC-10 is dropping fire retardant.
So there is an aircraft that has been brought in. It is a DC-10, and it is, as we speak, dropping fire retardant onto those flames to try and stop this in its tracks, considering that it has grown to such a size already in just the last hour and a half to 2 hours that we've been talking about this. And again, it's because of this winds. The fires are all now being driven by this extreme weather.
Good morning. We're back with breaking news. Double fires now working in the East Bay near the Carquinez Bridge. One on the Vallejo side of near the bridge. One on the Crockett side near the bridge or near the Carquinez Strait. And the community of Crockett is being urged and ordered to evacuate because of the fire danger.
Really some tense times for those people in the East Bay. But the bottom line is you need to get that bag and you need to get out of there, and you need to make sure that you're patient because we've seen there are a lot of impacts out on the roads.
Yeah, we're looking at this video from viewers, and it gives you a real sense of just how close that fire is burning to the highway. And that's the main reason that Interstate 80, a major thoroughfare, is now closed in both directions directions near the Carquinez Bridge. So the alternate route is to, the CHP is going to escort you off of 80 at Highway 4, and then you're urged then to go to Highway 680, either north or south, depending on where you're headed. We are seeing backups there, so as Teresa mentioned, you want to pack your patience.
Without a doubt. And, you know, this started as a very small wildfire there in Vallejo, and then the flames coming dangerously close to homes. And so that is why that blanket evacuation order was put forth. And so they're in the East Bay thinking that the Kincaid fire so far away,
exactly.
And now we have this right in the backyard of so many people.
Yeah, and right now you're looking at a map of the evacuation area in Crockett, and it pretty much takes up the entire community. It's a small community there, very nice community along the Carquinez Strait, waterfront property and all that, but they are all being told to evacuate, to get out of town.
Stay with us on Chronon. We're going to be back.
All right, we are continuing coverage of this new fire that has sparked up on both sides of the Carquinez Bridge.